Ciao everybody, and yay! Today I get to design with this awesome bundle of bead strands from Joee James Beads. I'm just going to pick them all up and show this deliciousness to you. This is called the Candy Strand Trick or Treat Bundle. It's a multicolored bundle and each one of these strands is absolutely delicious. I am crazy about these faceted square beads. They have mitered corners. That's just a beautiful strand. But don't these look like, this is like candy corn, just candy corn colors. I have a friend that loves candy corn and it makes me think of her. And then this one is like chocolate and caramel. And then this one is like orange candies and butterscotch. It is just absolutely beautiful. I love this bundle. It's so fun. Each one of the strands has a beautiful boho bead, pretty much. This one is ceramic hearts. This one has these gorgeous pave like spacer beads in here, crystal pave, and like they're just beautiful. The boho beads are what Joee James is quite famous for, so I love this bundle for that reason. I also have this stunning chain reaction, and I have to say, like, I rarely use the chain reaction just as a chain because it is so fun to deconstruct it and make things out of it. But I think I need to get another strand of these because I want to make some earrings to coordinate with a candy, like you know, this time of year we have a lot of candy and treats, and I want to make a candy bracelet and then some candy corn earrings. So I'm not going to be using the red crystals, but I almost hate to disassemble this chain because it is so gorgeous with this connector, these twisted bar connectors, and then these wrapped faceted crystal rondelles. It's just gorgeous. I also have this really pretty organic kind of freeform toggle clasp. This is 18 karat gold plated. It's called the Twisted Rope Brass Toggle Clasp, and I just think it's gorgeous. I love doing organic type of jewelry. So I'm going to cut open some of these strands and let's get to making a candy bracelet and some candy corn earrings. I'm also going to be bringing in on my little beading tray here just some seed beads from my stash. These yellow seed beads were left over from something in summer camp. I have some 11-0. These are 8-0. These are 11-0. These are 11-0, just in chocolate. And don't these look like candy wrappers, like the gold foil and the copper foil candy wrappers on caramels and chocolates? So I'm going to add those into my candy bracelet. But let me just cut everything open and make a little workspace. So I took a couple of little segments from this gorgeous chain, and I can't remember if I said, but this is a 5-pack bundle of Joee James Beads chain reaction. It's a mix of multi, gold, and silver, and that was in my bundle, and I have all of this left. So I'm so thrilled because it's one of my favorite chains that they've ever done. But here's my sample earring. It's the most elegant candy corn earring I've ever seen, and you don't even need any jump rings for this. So we'll do this first to have a little earring. But here is my candy. I am decorating each one of these candy beads. I'm designating them candy, each one in a different way, with wire and seed beads and bead caps. This is a half herringbone. This is just laying some wire and seed beads across a ceramic bead, making a little halo or frame. And you can do half or do both sides. And I'll show you how I did them. But my plan for my seasonal candy bracelet here is to make a whole bunch of different colors, different shapes, no two alike, and link them together with some jump rings, which I also made out of the same wire that I'm doing my decorating with. And so this main wire that goes through the middle of the beads is 20 gauge, and then the finer wire that I'm doing the embellishment like adding the seed beads and doing this on is 24 gauge. And you could play around with the gauges, but those work really well. So let's do the earring first, and then I'll show you how I do a couple of these designs. This is so cute. If you guys know herringbone, it's one of my favorite things to do. This is so cute because it's herringbone, but only on half the bead instead of the other half. So it really is a pretty effect. And then with the leftover wire, I just made a little spiral to lay on my bead. So I'll show you how I did that, but let's do this earring first. I took a ball head pin and I just did a little stack. I did these in the order that you see the colors on candy corn, and I just popped a little daisy spacer in between each one of these beads to create the candy corn drop. And on these, I'm just going to do a simple loop at the top. So I'm going to put a bend in my wire, and I'm going to be doing simple loops and wrapped loops in the projects today. And I'm going to I'm going to do a couple of them by hand, and I'm going to do a couple of them with my one-step looper. So you'll see both ways that I make my simple loops. So from here, I could grab a hold of this loop and wrap, and that is how I wrap my loops, but I'm going to come inside here and snip where the two wires meet up again, and that is a very easy way to get a really pretty simple loop. And so now I'm going to open it a little bit more and drop it into the bottom of this little segment of chain and close that really well. Work hard in that. Whoops. Dropped my pliers. And so that is basically done, but I did make my own ear wire, and I'll show you how I did that. And this is so cool. This chain reaction is so cool. That little segment just makes the most elegant dangly earring. Okay, Joey, stop playing with your earring. Let's do the ear wire. So I'm using my smallest one-step looper. I'm putting it in just past the back cutter and get my first loop in there. I'm pulling it down so that loop is centered on the wire, but it also gives a pretty little bend to my ear wire. And then I'm going to turn it this way because that's going to be the front of my ear wire, my opening to the back, so it makes a really beautiful seamless ear wire. And I'm going to take my 6-step bail making plier and put this in so that, again, I'm looking at what will be the front of my ear wire so that I am wrapping around away from me and around the largest step. And I'm just going to bring it all the way around. And from here, I'm going to, you can either match them up, but I use my bottom of my loop as a guide, and I came just a little bit past that loop, and I'm going to give that a snip. And then I use my flat nose pliers to get this final measurement. I line the end of my wire up with the width of the flat nose plier and just kick that out a little bit. And that is so pretty and so simple. Next, I'm going to come in with my wire rounder attachment. You can also do this with a metal nail file or a, vintage buffing block. But I have a battery operated reamer with the attachment, wire rounder attachment on, and it's a very professional finish. And so I love to make my own ear wires. I think that is the sweetest, prettiest little ear wire. It matches my other one just perfectly. And now I'm just going to come inside and open my simple loop and attach this bar segment of the chain. It has a little hole there, and just slip it right on, and it'll get on this side and close that loop really well. And now I can look at the front of my earring to work harden it. If anything needs a little straightening, now's the time to do it. And look at this. Can candy corn earrings be any more elegant or beautiful than that? It's just beautiful. I love them. Okay, let's dive into our our candy pieces here, I'm going to take the cube bead, and I'll show you how I did the half herringbone wrap, and I'll do it on the cube bead. Any bead that has a little bit of width here works very well for, the herringbone wrap, because you have space for wrapping. You can really do the herringbone wrap even on a round bead. You can do it on anything, but anything that has a little bit of width does make this easier. So I'm going to take a piece of my 20 gauge wire and a piece of my 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to start out by just putting my thumb over the two wires and just get a couple of wraps around my finer gauge wire, a couple of wraps around my core wire, just like that. And I'm going to tighten up those coils, so I'm starting out really neat, and you can kind of chase that around. Go ahead and get rid of that little tail, little working wire, and you can just kind of chase that finer wire. Open and close your pliers and kind of chase it around your core wire. And now I'm going to feed my bead on, just like that. And a ceramic bead with a large hole is really cool for this, because those starter wraps are kind of hiding inside, which is nice. And I'm just going to give myself a little bit of space, because with this wire, when I'm all done, this can be a simple loop or a wire wrapped loop, whatever I want to do with it. And so now I'm going to come down the side of my cube bead, and I'm just going to hold everything as tight as I can with my thumb and finger. And now I'm going to come to this side, and this is on top of my core wire, and I'm going to go behind and back around to the front. Now, if this were regular herringbone, I would go down this side and do the same thing, but I'm going to go behind another time. And so now I am in position to go back down the same side that I've already wrapped. So just keep rotating your work, that helps you. And I'm going to lay this wire behind my first wrap that I did and get my thumb over it, pinch it tight. And now I'm going to come on top of my core wire and go behind and back around to the front, and then back around to the back again. Pull it up here a little bit. And if you need to pause, like I often will, push my wraps together and just make sure everything's tight. And again, I'm going to go behind the wraps that I've already done, put my finger over it, come to the top of my other wraps, and I'm on top of my core wire, and I'm going to wrap behind, back around to the front, and back around to the back. So as you can see, I'm just wrapping only one side of my bead and leaving the other side empty. It's a really nice asymmetrical effect, and I love these chocolate ceramic cubes. They really do look like candy. So this is kind of like a poetry, like this is the gold foil candy wrapper on a chocolate. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm right hand dominant, so I do have to keep rotating my work, and go behind, back around to the front, but I don't want to wrap down the empty side. I want to keep it empty and come back around where I can wrap. And you can keep going for as much space as you can fit on your bead, or to the end of the amount of wire that you have cut off. I'm pretty generous with my wire, because I like the opportunity to make a spiral at the end, to embellish. So I'm pretty generous with my wire. I always take more than I need. But see, on a cube bead, these are awesome for doing this, because there's so much space to lay your wraps there, and it just, the more you do, the more amazing it looks. Okay, I think that's going to be my last one. And if you need to, you can scrunch your wraps together. And then I'm going to take this little piece of wire and just do a really nice spiral embellishment here. Just make a tiny little loop and just push that against my finger all the way down to my beads, to my bead. And I'm just going to push it in place with my thumb. And you could always cut that off. You know, I just like to I always try, if I have extra wire, I always try something to see if I can create like a really cool embellishment. So that little piece of candy is done. And I'm going to come back with my one-step looper. And I'm going to put my wire in my tool on this end. And I'm just putting my wraps right up to the front jaw, and I'll get a simple loop in this piece of candy, and I'll come to this side and do the same thing. Just put my wraps up to that front jaw. You can do that with your pliers. You could also do a wire wrapped loop here. I already know that whatever candy pieces I choose to go into my bracelet, that everything will be connected with jump rings. So I'm going to close all of my loops and make sure that they are straight and closed and work hardened. Look at that. And the more you do, like the more you create, the more gorgeous the piece becomes. Okay, let's do a heart and embellish that. Now, I'm going to take a piece of 20 gauge wire and start out with getting a wrapped loop in one end. So a 90-degree bend, round nose pliers, normal wire wrapped loop here. One thing you might want to do for adding the finer gauge wire, as I've done here on top, is because you are going to wrap on top of these loops, you might want to give yourself an extra wrap or two. I normally do 2 to 3 wraps, but I might do 4 to 5 when I know that I'm going to embellish right on top of this. So just making that stem a tiny bit longer. Just give yourself a little space there for tucking your embellishment wire. So now I'm going to pop my bead on, and you can do your seed bead wire or embellishment wire one of two ways. You can either poke it through the bead at this point and, you know, kind of come down to the middle. So you have fine gauge wire sticking out the top and bottom of your bead. I do it that way sometimes. And the other thing you can do is leave that out and go ahead and do a wire wrapped loop on this side and then wrap on top of your 20 gauge wire wraps. I'm going to do it this way this time. I don't know why, I kind of like it. I like the wire being inside, and these ceramic hearts and most ceramic beads have large enough holes that it's just a nice way to hide your wire. The only thing with that is you have to kind of bend it out of your way. You know, just you have to kind of deal with it hanging out while you wrap your loop. So if that doesn't bother you, go ahead and pop it in there. But I'm going to come to this side and do another wire wrapped loop going in the same direction as my first one. I'm going to go ahead and gently tuck my wraps and straighten up my loops. Straighten up my loops so everything's straight, and my fine gauge wire is now hanging out on the inside of the bead. And I'm going to start out at the top here, and I'm just going to do one wrap on top of my, you know, my initial wire wrapped loop, and I'm going to come to my little seed bead tray here, and I think on this one I'm going to do some of these chocolate 11-0 seed beads. Do like maybe 3 chocolate and 2 gold, and just make a little seed bead pattern that's going to lay on top of my heart. I'm just going to let those drop down onto my heart, And then from here you can decide if you want to curve it or where you want to lay the seed beads. And I think I'm just going to make a little curve like at a diagonal across the face of the heart. Put my thumb and forefinger over it and wrap around on this side. And then you can also decide if you want to embellish both sides. You have the wire to do it. I think I'm going to have a top side to my bracelet, so I'm going to come to this wire here, and I could add some more seed beads and like do anything that I want, like some little loops or whatever I want. This is really organic and free form. You can do some plain wire. You can really just play with this until you like the look. So I think I'm going to do this little pattern beside and come up here at the top and wind on top of my initial wraps. And so I have that pretty little chocolate color in front. I'm going to bring this around to the back, just find a good place to trim, and I'll use this bit for my next bead. How pretty that is. It really does look like candy. Okay, let's do one of these little guys next. I'm going to take a piece of 20 gauge wire on this one. It is about 12 inches, and I'm going to come to this side here and put a wrapped loop in this side, and just a normal wire wrapped loop on this side. So my loop looks like that, and I'm going to take one of these beautiful chocolatey crystal teardrops and put that on my wire. And now I'm going to come to this end where I have all this extra wire and do another wire wrapped loop. And with my extra wire, I'm going to orbit this teardrop. So I'll show you. Just get the second loop in position. It's centered on the bead. And I'm going to start wrapping really neatly, and one coil right between the previous one. And when I get down to my bead, my wire is touching my bead there, I'm going to start orbiting the bead. So really smooth and warm the wire, and you can pull it tight so that the wire is laying right on the bead, or you can let it hang out a little bit past the bead, whatever you like the look of. I'm just gonna make my way to the other end, and when we get to this end, just wrap around right on top of the existing wraps, and just trim and tuck. Look how pretty that is. It's so simple, and it's just so beautiful. I love the look of wire laying on a bead. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit with how the order in which I want to connect my candy components. I'm going to do one more bead, and it's going to be this this style where you let the seed beads frame the edge of the bead. And I'm going to pop in another yellow. So let's do a simple loop on this one. This, as I said, this is a mixture of simple loops and wire wrapped loops. I'm going to pop my bead on, and most of these have a large enough hole that your fine gauge wire can fit through, just like that. And as I said, you can do it that way, or you can go ahead and make your component and then wrap around the loop. I've been doing it this way, and I like the way it looks. And I think I'm going to do both sides of this, so I'm going to pull my wire in there and get a simple loop in this side. I'm going to start out by getting a couple of wraps around my loop there, and I'll do the same thing on this side just to stabilize it. Get a hold of it with my pliers and just put a couple of wraps. And then when I'm going to create a frame of beads, I'll just drop those down and curve that around my bead, and then see if I need more seed beads or if I want to have some of the wire showing. And I think that's actually really perfect. And so I'm just going to get them to lay right up against my bead and come here. Hold everything with your thumb and finger. I'm going to get under my other wire and just do a couple of wraps. And I'm going to come on this side and do the exact same thing. And so since I have extra of my fine gauge wire, I'm going to make a little spiral on both sides and just lay it on top of the bead. That is such a cute little piece of candy. Okay, I am ready to assemble, and it is so simple. I am going to put a jump ring through my toggle and through my first piece of candy and work my way down the line, putting each piece together with a jump ring in the order that I've laid out here. I just added my last piece of candy, and I'm putting another jump ring in the T-bar side of my toggle onto my bracelet. And you guys, this is so gorgeous. This is so pretty. Look at all of these individually beautifully done components. No two are alike, and it is just like so beautiful as it goes around your wrist. No two pieces of candy are alike, and each one has been wrapped or embellished with seed beads, wire, bead caps, and there's so much more to work with in the bundle of strands that I got. I didn't put any red in this, but you could, like, I feel like I should do a necklace and keep going because I still have so many candy colors left to do, tons of spacers. Look at this gorgeous spacer bead. It's gunmetal and red crystal. It's so pretty. And there were these little crystal balls that could just be a beautiful component. Like, I feel like I need to do a really long necklace with this bracelet instead of just a bracelet. But I thank you all so much for watching. And if you'll tap more underneath the video description, the links for the products that I've used here, this candy strand treat bundle, trick or treat bundle, the 5-pack of the Jesse James beads chain reaction, and also the beautiful toggle clasp, the 18 karat gold toggle clasp that I use. The links will be there for you, and I hope everybody is having a great fall. And if you give this a try, if you start making candy components, I would love to hear from you in the comments how yours turn out and what you come up with as far as decorating your individual links and turning them into, you know, this beautiful season of sweets. I thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Ciao, friends.